Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears as we get into UFOs and the data behind them and a lot of strange stuff happening as we speak right now in the UFO world. Dr. Robert Gross is going to be with us tonight to get all into it from his beautiful home in Chicago, Illinois. Dirty Filth is here for another great cartoon, and so are all of you. We got Race Fan in the gold medal position. Michael Morris with a silver. Roy Boy in the bronze medal tonight. Hello to just another guy named Harry and Laura Lobbs and Kurt M. How are you all? Lisa C., Les Paul Holland, D. Cohen, Tim Mothman, Guy Calgary. How you doing, buddy? And Kathy Evans. Nice to see you all. Hello, Demon and Peter Thorgerson. Peter Thorgerson will be signing autographs after the show. Light up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Continuing on here, we have Evan Walters. Yep, pissing us off already, Evan. Lars Janssen, he's starting in goal tonight, wearing Tony Esposito's old number 35. Yeah, he's from Stockholm, Sweden. All right, moving on. And let's see here. Jenny White Bear, nice to see you. And who else do we got in the room so far? Let's scroll down. The lovely and talented Kira. Kira will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Hi, Richard Elmore, Paramarv, Shelly, Area 51. Guy, how are you? And Mexi97, thank you for all coming in. Millennium, my man, good to see you. Hello, the lovely Amber Dawn Glover. Dogface Simon in Australia. Aussie Sue, nice to see you both. Hi, Sir Grizz. Lee the Bee. Mama Catherine, that one's for you. That's right on the cheek there. Yep. Moving on, Allison Singh, Nikki in Seattle, and Thomas Rock. Good to see you all. Lex Diaz, and there he is. Sweet Robbie G from the Social Dig. Good to have you here. Xana Max, how are you? Welcome to SOR Chat while you're watching on Twitch. If you want to come on over where everybody else is, they are in the YouTube side. It's up to you, though. And Super Crazy, how are you? Nice to see you. Hello, Pixie Lara. How's your purple hair tonight? Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Always needs to hear her name 3 times. Can't do a show without it. Noble Patrick, S. Vermet, welcome to SOR Chat. Kim and Nari, Noble Patrick again. And Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Dave Walters, what's up? Lightwalkers, thank you for joining us. And let's see here. Where are we? Sandra Kincaid, thank you for coming on in. Chillgasm, Nancy Thames, good to see you both. Christine Lynn, Alex Sanchez, thank you for joining us. Izzy Stradlin Beth, always a pleasure. And scrolling on down, hi Gansfeld. And Robert Lamoth. Who else is here? D. Henderson, thank you for coming on in. Penny Van and Sensational Sherry, it's good to see you. Yeah. Oh, wow, we got a big crowd tonight. G. West, always a pleasure. Science Melinda, thanks for coming on in. And oh, there's Anime X. She made her way over just like that. Let's open up the other chat room for the radio side so Bill WD40 could get in there and lube us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. Vash the Impaler, thanks for joining us. Nick Adkins, Celia, good to have you both here. And I think we're almost caught up. Yeah, we're caught up. The super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. As well, you can do some shopping at our website, spacedoutradio.com. If you're new here, do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week, and after the show, leave a comment. Horns up. Let's rock. Okay, maybe not. I jumped the gun. We like 25 seconds. Yeah, I'm just so excited for tonight. I'm blaming that. Hi, Pam Harris. Hello, Renee Cruz. T2E. Yeah, you're going to have to give those horns up again, T2E, because I screwed it up. Yeah, most of you are going to have to. Let's try this thing again, okay? Because now we're on time. We're ready to go. Now we're warmed up. Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show of science and information tonight. Dr. Robert Gross is here to talk about his studies, not only in the UFO field, but with the Galileo Project, on what UFOs really are. How do we track them? What is their signatures? And more. And, of course, in hour number 3, Steve Stockton will have a brand new story from Among the Missing. Then Robin McCrae will come in for the Cryptid Report. All right, let's get down to it. Dr. Bob Wenzel Gross graduated from Penn State, where he studied music, filmmaking, acoustics, aesthetics, and research design, among other subjects. Penn State's graduate school awarded Dr. Bob's doctoral dissertation an excellent rating for advanced research. In 1989, he observed a UFO up close and personal. Throughout his close encounter, he experienced a strong affective reaction. His interest in regards to, among anomalies, aesthetics, and existential intelligence, UAP, consciousness, and the human brain was then ignited. In 2005, Dr. Gross started working for the U.S. Department of Interior. As a result, in 2006, he collaborated with NASA on their astromaterials research and exploration team. And in 2021, he helped join the Galileo Project, set up by Avi Loeb from Harvard University. Talk about invested in the science of UFOs. We can't get better than this. Dr. Robert Gross, thank you so much for coming on Stout Radio. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Dave. It's a pleasure to be back.
Yes, it's been a number of years.
Yes.
But here you are digging through the trenches of, somebody to talk to about this, and somehow you find my name again. I don't know how the hell that happened, but I'm glad to get back in touch with you, my friend.
I was listening to, I think, one of your podcasts recently, and you talked a little bit about the Galileo Project and Avi Loeb, and I thought, hey, he sounds like he's a man after my own heart.
Well, I don't know if, I wish him the best. I really do. But I often wonder at times whether the pull of a Nobel Prize is a little bit more important than the actual topic at hand. And I'm not sure about that one yet. I mean, that's just from an outsider's perspective.
I'll try to give you more on the inside of that whole thing tonight if I can.
Works good. Now, back in 1989, you had your own sighting. You had something happen that you could not explain. Prior to that, did you believe in UFOs? Did you believe in little green men from Mars coming down to Earth and taking our men, women, and children for their own scientific study?
I think I believed that statistically life existed out there in the universe somewhere. But, I started I'm 74 years old now. And during my lifetime, I've seen 6 UAPs, 2 of them up close. And that one in 1989 was probably one of the closest. But I had no idea that I'd see that UAP that night. It just snuck up on me, and I had a witness with me, fortunately, and it was an experience I will never forget.
What did it look like?
Quite frankly, it looked like a manta ray. And when I first saw it, it was on the ground, near a guardrail when we were driving, and then it just started rising up. And my brain couldn't make out what it was, because at first it started raising up, and I thought, oh, is this object on the ground? Is it a snowy owl maybe, or something? Because it just started coming straight up, and then it started changing color. It went from like a black to a dark gray, and then to like I guess you'd call it an urban camouflage, grayish, blackish, whitish color. And then when it got up to the limbs underneath the tree where it was off the road, it turned white, grayish white. And then as I was driving, at that time I was driving a Volkswagen Scirocco that had a little moon roof on it, and I had the stereo blasting and everything. And it came as soon as it got underneath those branches of that tree, it flew out a little bit, and I could tell it wasn't a bird because it didn't have any feathers, and it was it didn't have a mouth that I could see, and it wasn't flapping its wings. It looked a lot like a manta ray from the ocean.
Okay, I have to interrupt you there, because there's something strange about what you're saying, and I'm going to piece it all together for you.
Okay.
Back in, I think it was 2020, when the second series of Hellier 2 documentary came out. And I had a dream that my friend Samantha Mowat was in, where my other buddy, who I won't mention his name, him and I in this dream were watching a UFO flyby in this dream.
Wow.
And it was being chased by a Canadian Armed Forces CF-18 Hornet. Now, this is all in dream state. I could picture this. If I could draw this out, if AI could come into my brain and draw this out, it's actually a very beautiful picture. And every time this UFO came by, it was getting closer and closer to us. Okay. Until it went underwater into a lake, and then came out of the lake and turned on its belly. And on the belly was a manta ray.
Oh, jeez.
So imagine my shock, where 9 days later, I'm watching the Hellier series, part 2. And I think it's episode 5 or 6, where author Alan T. Greenfield, who's the author of The Secret Cipher of the UFO Knots, starts talking about craft with manta or stingrays on them.
Jeez. Wow. I'd never heard of that before.
And now you're talking about seeing a manta ray shaped craft. That is weird to me.
I mean, and I even have, I wrote an essay about it in a paper, and I had a friend of mine draw, I gave them the description of what I saw that night, and he drew it. And I'll have to send you a copy of that what the object looked like. But I sat down with him for hours trying to get him to get the thing pretty well drawn.
Yeah, look at that. It's just amazing how these little synchronicities,
Yes,
Dr. Bob, seem to kick in every now and again. For you though, how did this experience change you?
well, I that night was the biggest change because again, once it flew out from underneath those trees and it started flying toward me, and I hit my high beams on the car. And when I did that, a little bit after that, it turned another color. It turned from white to a fluorescent green, and it started glowing. And then it banked, and it started right toward my car. Went to dive bomb my car. And again, I had a passenger in there, and it went right above my car, and its wingspan was probably 12 to 15 feet long. And I'd say from tip to tail, it was about 5-6 feet long. And there were no feathers, there were no eyes, there were no brakes. It looked like it was a translucent fluorescent green, like you might see a watch dial glowing. And it flew right just inches over top of the car. And when it did that, because I had the moonroof open, the whole inside of the car turned fluorescent green. And then it dive bombed like the 4-lane highway, and it took off and headed north up towards, we were in Cambria County in Pennsylvania at that time. And when it did that, it looked like a tracer bullet looks in those war movies, and they're shooting, bullets they're tracer bullets. It looked like a green tracer bullet, and it just disappeared. And the strangest part then was right after that happened, I started hyperventilating. I couldn't control myself. And I looked over, and my passenger we were both hyperventilating at the same time. And I had to pull the car off the road to get control of the car.
Did you have any missing time?
No, not that I recall. And I did report it that night to, there was a clearinghouse for UFOs at that time in Pennsylvania. So I called that night. It was probably around 12:30, 1 o'clock when I got back home. I called and I reported it. And they called me back that night because they said, well, we had seen, other people have been seeing this same object, and some people have been having excess radiation in their bodies. So they recommended that I go to my doctor and go to the hospital and get tested for excess radiation, which I did later on. My passenger didn't. She said, just let me know how your test ends up. But I didn't have any excess radiation in my body. But the hyperventilating is something I'll never forget.
So fast forward to today, where we see a lot of passion and a lot of knowledge digging into this topic of UFOs. I mean, coming into this last 5 years, you've been in this game long enough. Did you ever expect it to get the way it is? Politically speaking, the way people are talking about it online, the fights, the feuds, the rumors, the conjecture, the accusations. I mean, this UFO world has turned into days of our lives here.
It's right now, it is really extreme. But ever since I started, became interested in all this, and I started, researching it, and I'm basically a scientist. I'm a researcher, I have the credentials to do it. So I went took a deep dive into a lot of these things. There is, I have been threatened essentially and so forth for telling the truth. But it's never been as bad as it is right now. I've never seen, it's like everything's happening at once. And it's like 2 and 3 times over the drama that has been going on since like 1945 or so. And it's amazing to see how many people were involved in all this.
I can see that. And how did you end up stepping into the game a little bit more with working with not only NASA over the years, but the U.S. government. Did you, during your time with NASA and the USG, did you look into UFOs?
Now with NASA, when I got involved with NASA at that time, this was 2005, and again, I'm a trained musician and I've been an administrator and an educator and so forth. But in 2005, I started working for the United States Department of the Interior, and I was. And this is another trippy thing here. I was living and working on the Navajo reservation in New Mexico, in the middle of nowhere. And I was technically, at that time, I was employed by the Department of the Interior. And just out of the blue, one day, I got a call from, he's on CNN News right now. I can't think of his name. But I got a call from him. He was working for the government at that time. And he said that I was required, because I was working for the Department of the Interior, to attend a meeting in Houston, Texas. And that, to make a really long story short, that whole meeting was about how NASA was going to go from the Earth to the moon, and then they were going to go from the moon to Mars, and then they were going to mine Mars. And that whole program was known as the ARES program, Astromaterials Research and Exploration Science Directorate. And I was directed to go to a summit meeting at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. And when I went there, I was representing the Navajo tribe, and I had to take two of my best and my brightest Navajo educators with me. And I had no idea. They just said, be there. David Axelrod, that was his name, David Axelrod. He was working for the government at that time. He said, you got to be there. I didn't have a choice. So I went down, flew down with two teachers. Next day, had a meeting at the Space Center. They closed down the Space Center for this private meeting. And everybody at that meeting represented a different tribe. And I was representing the Navajo tribe at that time, which was the largest Native American tribe in the United States at that time. And basically what they told me to get down there, the reason I was there is that NASA was finding out that their astronauts needed to start thinking differently about things, because when they finally got to Mars through the ARES project back then in 2005 and 2006, they were going to run into things that they were not going to be able to handle psychologically. And the idea was, since most Native Americans think differently about things, they wanted to bring more Native Americans into the astronaut program. So that's basically what I was doing, is recruiting astronauts from the Navajo tribe, the best and the brightest Navajos, into the ARES program. And then that whole thing was about them getting ready to go to the moon and then to Mars, and then knowing that they already knew things that were going to happen that people that were educated in just a Western culture education were not going to be able to handle when they got to Mars.
Wow, that's a heavy amount of.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah, it's very intriguing. Where does your interest in joining the Galileo Project then come in? How did that happen?
Well, that was about 2001, right after the committee that was the UAP. What was it? That was the committee that came up with the 2021 definition of UAP, where they came up with the 5, the categories, and the last one was
5 of them.
catch-all. Ben.
Yeah.
Yes. So I was getting into that, and I had heard rumor that Penn State was going to start up a program where they were going to start looking into life on other planets. And so, and again, that the NASA Ares program, that was one of their missions, was to look at life in the universe. So I had always been geared up for that. But then I had heard that they were looking for volunteers for the Galileo Project that was just happening in 2021, because that was put together not long after that newest definition by the UAP task force. So I basically, contacted Avi Loeb. I got a connection. I contacted him, and I, gave them my credentials basically. And I also told them, since Avi Loeb was working for, almost said Notre Dame, but
Harvard.
He worked for Harvard University at that time. I told them, because I started working with Harvard in 1992. Back when I was working, now I wasn't working with NASA back then, but I was working for a group called the Council of Chief State School Officers in Washington, D.C. I was what was known as the multimedia assessment specialist for the National Assessment of Educational Progress. So, had nothing to do with UFOs. But when at that time, there was a lady, a Dr. Denny Palmer Wolf, was managing the project that I was working with under the Council of Chief State School Officers. And Dr. Denny Palmer Wolf was working with Harvard, and she was on a group called Harvard Project Zero. And I was working back with on how the arts are essential to the human brain and how it helps the mind and so forth. And she introduced me to a Dr. Howard Gardner. And Dr. Howard Gardner was also on the Project Zero, and he was a psychologist. And he came up with something known as a multiple intelligences theory. And he put a book out about 1983 on it. And he said that people have different intelligences. Like there's a mathematical intelligence, there's a musical intelligence, there's a linguistics intelligence. He came up with about 7 intelligences back then that human beings are supposed to have. And then in 1999, and I was working pretty closely with him because of the job I was doing with the NAEP assessment. And he came up with it would have been, I guess, his 8th or 9th intelligence, and it was called existential intelligence. And people that have a robust or a strong existential intelligence tend to believe and think that there really is life after death, and that there really is life on other planets. And I started working with him really closely on that because I kind of got addicted to that whole concept. And then jumping way ahead, in 2013, I contacted him, and we got together and I ran an independent feasibility study to see if people did have such a thing known as an existential intelligence. And that's kind of how I got to this.
The perfect place to wrap up this half hour, as we are done the first half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. In the second half hour, UFOs. And there's been big news earlier today, a shakeup in the UFO hearings. We'll get Dr. Robert Gross's opinion on that and whether games are being played on a political level when it comes to UFOs. We'll let the government UAP, we'll stick with UFOs around here on Spaced Out Radio. Coming up next. So just to remember, reminder, pardon me, Dr. Gross, our audience on radio cannot hear us, but our audience on YouTube and the podcast can right now. So, yeah, they can still see us. And Dirty Filth is still here, too.
Okay, I see that.
What you drawing, Dirty Filth?
Just going to be drawing some guests that will not be allowed at the hearing tomorrow.
Oh, okay. That's very nice. Very nice.
It'll make sense in the end.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. It always does. You always tie it all together. Hi, Dino Bravo. What's happening? Bryson's Folly. What's happening? Who else has jumped in here? That's pretty good. You having fun yet there, Doc?
Oh, yeah. Wow. You're really racking my brain tonight. I have notes and everything. I haven't even got to them yet.
Oh, we're going to get to them yet.
It's wild.
Man. You know, I blame Peter Thorgerson in the chat room. I don't know why, but it just seems like the first name I saw. So we'll just blame him in the chat room for tonight's show. Deb, thank you so much for the super chat. Along with Thomas, very much appreciate the love and support. And good night, Mike Arrington. Let's see here. Nina Williams, how are you? Yeah, it's a good show so far. Glad I actually cleaned my glasses. So that works for me. I can see and do everything. I had way too big of a dinner tonight. I really did. I had this giant burger. It was way too big. It knocked me out beforehand.
Everything here was smoked. I didn't have a choice.
Oh, Glenn John McEnroe, how you doing, my man? Good to see you. Kira, I just spent 3 days in the forest living off of water and Gatorade and sunflower seeds. I wanted something solid. Now, this wasn't a giant nothing burger. This had bacon and mushrooms and tomatoes and lettuce and onions and more
Jalapenos?
bacon. No jalapenos. No. Mac Geek, how you doing? And then to top it off, Kira, I had wedge fries. No, not wedge fries. I had French fries with gravy and mayonnaise.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So you stick with your pepper salmon and spinach salad. You know, two things I hate: salmon and spinach. And there's Kira just, oh, look at me go. I know she's rolling her eyes. She's like, Dave, stop right now. Stop it. Oh, I love her. I'm allowed to give my business manager a hard time every now and again. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, how's that piece of salmon there, Kira? It's delectable, isn't it? Let me throw in a sprinkle of pepper. Yes, gravy and mayo. It's a good combination for French fries. Zandy, I will get to that momentarily. Yes, I do have some thoughts. Travis, S. Vermette from Ottawa. Are you connected? Let's just be honest. Are you connected, Mr. Vermette? Travis W., what's going on, man? Dirty Filth, you got something to say? You turned your mic on.
I was going to say I'm horribly late. I'll have to roll some dice again soon with Travis.
Yeah. Yeah, you will. Sweet Robbie G. All right. Come on, Mr. Vermette. You got to be connected if you're in Ottawa. Yep. Are you one of the fringe minority? Oh, God, I hate our Prime Minister. He's terrible. All right. Dirty Filth, we'll get you to mute up if you don't mind. Since it is coming up that time. And if you haven't yet already, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell. And give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways if you haven't already. Helps with the algorithms. And then after the show, we'd love it if you left a nice comment. Oh, D. Henderson, don't do that. Salmon and spinach sounds wonderful right now. I know you're thinking the same thing, Dr. Rob. I know you are. I can feel it. Elfie Ting, how are you? Welcome to the show. Jurassic Joey, what's happening? Okay, everybody, 5 seconds. Here we go. Second half of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. My name here is the host of the show, the mighty Dave Scott. Reminder to all of you, if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey for the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our guest tonight, UFO researcher, Dr. Robert Gross, and he is part of the Galileo Project. He's worked with NASA and other sorts, all on the UFO topic. Dr. Robert, good to have you back, my friend.
It's great to be back, Dave. Thank you.
All right. We are less than 24 hours from the latest hearings on UFOs. And all of a sudden, all of us on the West Coast here trying to have a nice dinner and, a nice cheeseburger with bacon and mushrooms, and onions and tomatoes and lettuce with mayonnaise on it, with fries and gravy and mayonnaise and, refillable iced tea, a good hearty meal. Excuse me. Oh, a good hearty meal. And all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose on Twitter or X, whatever it's supposed to be called now, about Tim Burchett, congressman who's been talking very, very tough over the last couple of years about his stance on disclosure, and his colleague, Congresswoman Ana Luna, have been tossed as the chairs of the UFO hearings.
Wow.
Yeah. And apparently it's still up in the air whether they're going to participate or not, but they can't be the chairs because they don't serve in the chairs. They're just part of the committee. What's your thoughts on this going on right now?
Me?
Yes. You.
Oh, okay. I was still thinking about the cheeseburger. But
it was damn good. It was a damn good cheeseburger.
But I didn't realize until you told me earlier that this had happened because I was, doing things today. But it's typical of when the politics started getting involved with this whole phenomenon. It's typical for them to keep playing games like this so that you can't have meaningful meetings about UAP. And, I've seen it happen. You get ready and you get there and they cancel the meeting or something changes. But it's all part of this game, like the bait and switch type game, because for most parts, I have my own opinion about what's really happening, after all these years looking into it with the whole UAP phenomena. And there have been, now in my mind, human beings, us, Homo sapiens, okay? We are still evolving. And our brains are still growing. And we need to keep evolving as Homo sapiens. And as a result, UAP, whenever you see one, if you've seen one, and I've seen 6, and you get this experience, your brain is actually going through what's called neuroplasticity, meaning it's actually growing. So in reality, human beings need to have experiences with UAPs, regardless if they're from another planet or not. And that's the bottom line. Okay, there's a saying that's the brain's survival mechanisms create the mind's theater. And this is what more and more of the recent research is starting to show, that actually when we have a perception of a UAP, we're seeing something up in the sky, but it's stimulating enough that it's creating a different image in our minds. And because it's unidentifiable, our brains create the best guess that they have as to what that object really is. So there could actually be an object or an event up in the sky that's different than what your brain is seeing it, and you're actually seeing it. So UAPs are part of being human. And I think the government and other people are taking advantage of that. And I even have, in my research, I've gone back and I found things that, again, they were, kind of like false flags and so forth from way back to the, 1940s.
So apparently the new chairman is going to be Glenn Gross. Let me find his name here properly. Glenn Grothman. He is a U.S. representative from Wisconsin's 6th Congressional District. He is a Republican, and he is apparently going to be leading the charge. Now, I think what's going to be happening is that both Tim Burchett and Anna Luna will be sitting in the hearings, but they just won't be able to chair it. I don't know American politics that well, being Canadian, but will they be able to ask questions?
That's probably going to happen at the last minute. I'm seeing similar things happen at Harvard University with the Galileo Project. And I'm seeing things that I never thought that I would see happen at Harvard University. And it's very disappointing to me, because when I worked with those individuals before, they were all into really science and research and so forth. Now I'm thinking something totally different from what I'm seeing happen, and involves not only people from Harvard University, but individuals from the government. And it's been going on for a while. And luckily I've documented, and I have emails for almost everything, but it when you see it start happening, it's just makes you sick especially when you spent your life researching it.
Oh, I could see that. But when you have a change like this happen so quickly before what could be an historic hearing on this subject, and we know that both Anna Luna and Tim Burchett had been very vocal about their anger towards the lack of support from the military, from the private groups, attacking the U.S. Air Force, and tell us what's going on. We know these craft are here, going, basically, let's bring disclosure forward and screw what you think, okay? Because it's about the people. And like I said, right before the hearings, they're tossed. Is that coincidental? Is that the first shot over the bow saying, you two better shut up because you don't know what's going on?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. And I can even give you examples of things that have happened to me when a government individual said something he shouldn't have said.
Please do. Give us an example.
Okay, well, I don't know how much trouble we'll get in for this, but
there's no swearing. That's all I ask. No swearing.
Oh, okay. No, this I won't swear. I promise. But all right, I even wrote one of them down. Now, this is kind of a light example, okay? And it has to do with the Galileo Project as I know it. But there was, all right, very quickly, there was a, when I was brought into the Galileo Project back in 2021, I was told that I could not tell anyone the details of what I was doing. Okay, I wasn't paid. I think this was back in November of 2021. Because of my credentials, I was recruited by Avi Loeb and other members of the Galileo Project. There were 3 other members that I worked with. I was recruited into the Galileo Project. And I was told that I could not say anything about what I actually did as a volunteer, because I was doing vital tasks for the Galileo Project research team. Okay, I was doing tasks for them. To my knowledge, they weren't doing these tasks. I was doing it for free. Okay, because I wanted to get involved with it and learn more about it. So I was doing these tasks, and I was told that I could not tell anybody about the tasks that I was doing. I could not talk about the software. I could not talk about the hardware. Okay. I really could only just say that I was working with the Galileo Project on these tasks. So what happened later on, and I never, and I said, well, why don't you have me sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement? And they said, no, you don't have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Just don't get into any details about what you're doing. Now, to us, what I was doing, and I'm watering this down, okay, so we don't get in any trouble. I was training an artificial intelligence computer that was running very high level artificial intelligence software. I was helping train that computer how to identify UAPs. Okay, and that's basically where I better leave that at. That I was spending a lot of time doing that. And then what happened a little bit later, I don't know if you've heard the name Christopher Mellon.
Yes.
Okay, well, I was told, that's all about as detailed as I ever went into what I was doing for the Galileo Project. Well, Christopher Mellon, and you can take a look at this. It was in, have you heard of the Hill.com? It's like a podcast or something like that. Yeah. So in the Hill.com, he wrote and basically said what we were doing in the Galileo Project. And now he was also added to the Galileo Project. And, I think I have it written down here that the title of his work was How Government Overclassification May Hide UFO Videos and Harm Our Security. And that article was written in March 6, 2022. And there was an opinion piece that he wrote in the Hill. And here's what he said. He said, I'm approaching the UAP topic as a member of 2 serious groups. of scientific researchers. The Galileo Project, which was the one I was working on doing this, TGP, and the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, SCU. This says both of these UAP research organizations have gathered able groups of scientists who are seeking to advance our collective understanding of UAP anomalies. And it says an effort is being made. It's currently under the way using machine learning to train a powerful computing capability to detect valid UAP videos and photos and to reject fakes or videos that mistakenly capture conventional aircraft. Now, that's what was, quite frankly, that was my job. And I was never supposed to really tell anybody what my job was. I could just, technically, I was supposed to only say, yes, I was working for the Galileo Project, and that was about it. Now he goes in, in the hill and basically leaks more than he was supposed to. At least I think more than he was supposed to. And it was it to damage those. I don't know how many other, volunteers who were helping train that AI computer were involved. Now, I spent hours upon hours doing that. And then he kind of I thought he went over the bounds of what we were supposed to say about what we were doing. And he was someone that was added to the Galileo Project. I mean, he didn't say anything wrong, but I thought that was, in my opinion, overstepping what I was told basically not to do.
Incredible.
It's in there.
Tying this into what we saw today with, the changing of the guard, so to speak, is this, in your opinion, a real move by the government that maybe there were some temporary threats or some tough words said by members of the Congress or the defense committees that just said, look, we can't have Tim Burchett and Anna Luna making fun of our military here or tearing them a new one at this time. It's the world's too tense to be doing that right now, especially over UFOs. Just your thinking on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what happens since they have the power over those individuals. If they didn't want them to say something or do something, they would just bring in new people. Especially when you don't have when your job description says that you have to go along with whatever they tell you to do. And I've worked with enough government agencies, to know that that's what happens. And I've had it happen to me, not quite at that level, but that's how it works.
How do you feel about that?
I don't like it at all. That's what I say.
Sorry for cutting you off. Should we, as not only a UFO public, but a public, be concerned regarding this change so close to publication?
Yes, we should be concerned that they can do that. I think, in my experience, it's going to keep happening so that they never get to the truth. I mean, when I started doing research on, once I started finding out what was really, in my opinion, behind the whole UAP phenomenon, and I started doing research and going way back, and I found evidence that some of the more popular UAP, let's call them events or, situations, they weren't isolated. Some of the early ones weren't isolated events. They were actually part of a continuum. It was a development process for military vehicles and so forth. And they were using that as a cover-up.
Okay, so how does this, in your opinion, change the outlook of the hearings tomorrow, because we saw Anna Luna and Tim Burchett talking very tough towards the disclosure movement, towards the military. And, I'm just curious how this changes the entire attitude of tomorrow's meeting for you.
I think it'll be the total opposite of what direction it was heading. If they were looking at finding the truth, I don't think they're going to find it through this venue right now. I think that they have been blocked again. I hope I'm wrong, but that's what I just, in my experience, that's it.
Is that to shove this topic back under the carpet where they want it, so nobody's looking in plain sight?
Yeah, they, in my opinion, again, from my research and what I've seen, they need it under the carpet to make it successful.
Right.
In fact, I can throw this one thing out at you to get you to think, and this is one hypothesis that came about for a group of us who were talking about it. What if the government was taking all the money that people were making about, let's say, selling books about UFOs and movies and everything? Wonder if they were somehow siphoning off all that money and using that money for other government projects. I mean, I've seen similar things happen, not only in the government, but in, local, like school districts and things like that. You just couldn't believe how much of that kind of thing goes on. When I was working for the tribe, and this is kind of off the record, but when the Department of the Interior brought me in, there was an organization. Do you remember the organization known as the BIA, Bureau of Indian Affairs? And there are organizations like that. Some of those organizations were missing billions of dollars. And so what the government did was they sent me to some very extensive training all over the country. Most of it was in Las Vegas on how to detect fraud in large organizations. And there were billions of dollars that were hidden and used and spent for other things. And basically that's what I did for a while. I was called they called it a John Doe witness, because I could find those funds that were stolen, but I went through a lot of training to do it. So that does exist.
All right. With 1 minute to go here before we have to take a break here at the top of the hour, what is your thoughts of where this story is going? Where do you think the government wants it to go?
They can't let the UAP story end. It's because right now, I think it's 65% of the population of the United States believes in UAPs. They can't afford to let it end because they're making money off of it.
I'll leave it at that. When we return on Spaced Out Radio, we're going to talk about the Galileo Project and everything that goes along with that. What are they trying to find? Is it about UFOs? Is it about popularity? Is it about owning a narrative? Dr. Robert W. Gross is with us tonight. We're going to get down and dirty on Avi. Yeah, we're going to see what he really does with his Oumuamua.
Oh, no.
Spaced Out Radio continues with hour 2 next. Stay tuned. I'm teasing. I'm not going to get into it.
No, I mean, I have some stuff for you that I think I can give you.
Well, then we'll get into it.
But you just have to find me a place to live there in British Columbia for a while.
Come on over. Dirty Filth, we're going to turn this bad boy over to you, as old Davey's going to take a quick break here. Maybe you can break down why that one looks like little Lisa Simpson. And this is where, you remember to turn your mic on.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a quantum light beam, Dave.
Oh, very nice. I'll be right back, guys.
Okay, bye. Oh yeah, geez. For anybody listening out there, if you'd like to grab a copy of my book, you can go to filthy.com. That's FYLTHY.com. Buy a book for yourself, buy one for your mom. And yeah, I have a second book coming out before Christmas, along with my third calendar. Those will also be available there as well. Good night, Digger Dog. Have a good night. Dave and his cheeseburger. Kira's still just grumping about it. Books are the best gifts.
That's right.
I think I probably got like 2,000 books between Mrs. Filth and I.
Wow.
Well, a lot of fantasy and horticulture stuff.
Cool.
Penny Van. I don't know. I could probably make a book with a short comic or something with a whole bunch of blob cartoons in it.
I've been trying to get a book published myself. Groups like MUFON keep it off the shelves.
I just went through the old Amazon direct printing thing.
Oh yeah, that works.
If I could, yeah, it works out good. I mean, it's not a New York Best Times hit or anything, but nonetheless, though, I always wanted to publish something. I published it, and immediately I just thought, great, now I got to do another book.
Yeah.
And so then my thought was, if I'm going to do 2, I got to do 3 to at least have a trilogy, because you can't just do 2. Because then people have 3 to choose from which they like the most, and they'll fight over it forever. Thanks, Mac Geek. The next one has more writing. I did a lot more writing in the second book, so that the drawings are a little bit more explained, as opposed to me just drawing something and someone picking up the picture.
Do you do all your own writing as well?
I do all the writing. The only thing I don't do is the vectorization and the computer side of the stuff. I have a good pal that helps me out with that.
Sounds
They're one
good.
of the best people in the world. I've always been more of a hands-on art as opposed to digital. I took animation school.
Oh, did you? I studied animation at Penn State when I was and studied filmmaking there too. Fascinating, with computer animation especially.
I did some computer animation. I liked the Photoshop and that kind of thing. I used to just do backgrounds with that, and I'd draw my cartoons over the backgrounds. But I really ended up falling in love with watercolor.
Yeah,
it's like 10 years or so. It's fun. They look a lot better when it's all done. This was my drawing I decided to do last night.
Wow.
We got the man in black with his little mind blanker. People going into the UFO hearings. It's like, you're not going to remember this.
I had no idea that happened until Dave just said something about it, because I've been busy today, but that they looked like they had the answer, and this is what happens. It's going to keep happening like that.
Apparently it should be on at like 7:30 my time in the morning. So I told my boss when I get to work, I'm like, Warren, we're going to watch some alien stuff tomorrow. He's like, yeah, no worries.
What time did they change? Did they change the hearing time?
As far as I know, it hasn't changed, but I only
Hearings,
thought
think,
that
are
there was.
happening at 9 a.m. your time.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I didn't know if there was a time change or not.
No,
Whatever.
no time change.
Whatever happened to that meeting they were supposed to have with NASA at the end of July?
Oh, that ended up being a bunch of bull crap.
A bunch of hoo-ha.
Yeah, that was just a joke. A sixth grader could have written that.
That's pretty rowdy, Dave.
Oh yeah. Well, NASA just pisses me off intently.
More than Evan Walters.
Oh yeah. All right, let's quickly say hello to those who've come in so far. Major Lee, good to see you. And who else has jumped in here late? Super crazy. Penny Van, good night, T2E. Filth, your cartoons remind me of Mad magazines back in the 80s. Great work. That's from Mr. Vermette in Ottawa, our Canadian agent in the field.
Thank you, sir.
CS, hello. Thank you to Thomas and Deb for the super chats tonight. Give us a thumbs up, thumbs down. Shop at our store on our website. And here we go with hour number 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Fallibilism. Fallibilism is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, let's go to Dr. Robert Gross here. We're going to get into the Galileo Project and see what is happening on that side of the UFO spectrum, set up by Avi Loeb, the known astrophysicist who discovered a potential spaceship that he called Oumuamua back in 2017, racing through our atmosphere from somewhere else deep in space. Dr. Gross, welcome back.
Thank you, David. It's a great night. Wow.
Going by fast. Going by real fast.
It's like I must have been reading your mind today. But because I kept thinking about cheeseburgers.
Yeah.
But I put together, not knowing what you were going to really, ask me to do in detail. What I put together for you,
cheeseburger.
Yes, from the time I got into the Galileo Project, I listed all the positive things that happened while I was there, and then the turning point and the negative things that happened after that point. So I just kind of listed these like talking points, very quick talking points to give you an idea and a timeline of, in my perspective at least, what's been happening with the Galileo Project. And that might almost put everything we've been talking about, give it some new images, doing this little bit of a deeper dive.
All right. Well, let's go into it.
Okay. So I wrote these down, so I'm just going to just briefly go over them. So the first positive point for me being involved with the Galileo Project, and that happened on November 12th, 2021, and that's when Avi Loeb, asked me to become, or recruited me to become a just a volunteer that would complete vital tasks for the Galileo Project. And then I started at that time in November 12th, 2021, I started working with 3 other members of the Galileo Project research team. So that, and they were, of course, we had Avi Loeb and a lady by the name of, I'll just use her first name, Angela, then a man by the name of Richard, another man by the name of Nick. Okay, those are the first positive thing that happened. Then the next positive thing that happened, I got an email from Angela, and I have all of these emails that said that I would possibly be also used, other than just a volunteer, for the Galileo Project on developing an educational component to the Galileo Project in the future. Since my background is in education, and I've done a lot of work in developing curriculums and standards and so forth. So that was another positive thing. They were really looking like, I might be able to do something serious with them. Then the third positive thing that happened is that I was starting to help train an artificial intelligence computer running AI software to identify genuine UAPs. And that might have been because I've, had 6 encounters with UAPs in the past. The fourth thing was that I was told that I did not have to have an NDA, wasn't required for the volunteer position that I had. And at that same time, Avi Loeb and the Galileo Project came up with ground rules. And you can find this on the Galileo Project website. But the ground rules stated they were to protect the quality of the scientific research. The Galileo research team will not publicize the details of its internal discussions or share the specifications of its experimental hardware or software before the work is finalized. The data or its analysis will be released only through traditional scientific accepted channels of publication, validated through the traditional peer review process. All right, then also in 2021, on November 15th, I received an email from the Galileo Project's research team stating that please do not share the links that I was using, okay? Then on November 21st of 2021, I received an email from the research team from Angela stating, sure, it's fine to say you are volunteering for the project, and no, you won't be asked to sign a non-disclosure agreement, but we ask that you follow the guidelines, okay? Then on the 22nd, on 2022, February 14th, 2022, Dr. Gary Nolan was accepted into the Galileo Project. And have you heard of Gary Nolan? He's done some work, and he was accepted into the Galileo Project, and he's at Stanford. And I sent him an email just congratulating him that he was part of the Galileo Project. And he replied to my email. And then on March 6th, 2022 was when Christopher Mellon wrote an opinion in The Hill that I told you about earlier. Okay, so those were the positives, the things about the Galileo Project. Now, what the negative things started with that article, at least for me, with the article in my mind that Chris Mellon wrote. And again, I said, like, the title of Mellon's piece was How Government Overclassification May Hide a UFO Videos and Harm Our Security. In his piece, he wrote, I'm approaching the UAP topic as a member of 2 serious groups of scientific researchers, the Galileo Project and the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. It says, both these UAP research organizations have gathered able groups of scientists who are seeking to advance our collective understanding of UAP anomalies. Now, I was a member of the SCU, the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies, for a while. they are not, in my opinion, what they're cracked up to be. Okay, you have to really know what you're doing in this business. You've got to work with resources for that. You can't really be an insurance agent or something, or a real estate agent or something like that. Okay, so the second negative thing started happening. He also said that Chris Mellon said that an effort is underway to use machine learning to train a powerful computing capability to detect valid UAP videos and photos, to reject fakes or photos that mistakenly capture conventional aircraft. I thought he went too far in describing what actually those of us who were volunteers were doing. The training systems we had to find, I'll go this far, I'll tell you that the training systems had to require valid, authentic, real UAP videos of real UAPs. The third negative thing that happened that turned my mind around was that problems started developing with connecting me to the artificial intelligence training portal. Okay, for some reason I couldn't get in. Now, previously, if I had any kind of problem logging into the artificial training portal, they cleared it up. The members of the research team cleared it up within a number of hours. Back in 2023, when this started happening, nothing happened. The problems were not resolved at all. They never responded to my emails anymore. And the fourth negative thing that happened with the Galileo Project was communication with me and the Galileo Project research team eventually just stopped suddenly. Does that sound familiar? And then the next negative thing was that in addition, have you heard of the Copernicus Project?
I've heard a little bit of it, yes.
Okay, the Copernicus Project was announced then in 2023. Now, something I thought was a little bit odd, when I dug deeper into this, I found that Gary Nolan was added to the Copernicus Space Corporation team. Now, Avi Loeb is a co-founder of the Copernicus Space Corporation. Now, Avi Loeb, he's part of the Galileo Project, and he's the co-founder of the new Copernicus Space Corporation. Now, the new Copernicus Space Corporation plans to develop what are known as von Neumann probes. And they're tiny little devices that they're going to be sent out there to explore other solar systems. And they have the Copernicus Space Corporation has this strategic and science advisory board that includes Gary Nolan, as well as other members of Harvard University. And they're planning to take swarms of thousands and eventually millions of these little devices and let them go throughout the universe. And then the sixth negative thing that makes me think about the Galileo Project, kind of like you were saying, is that Avi Loeb carried out an expedition to Papua New Guinea. And right after that, Gary Nolan announced that he and Avi Loeb believe that the Earth has been visited by aliens, and we've been visited for a long time, that they've been here. They announced that not together, but they both announced that they both believe that. And to my knowledge, there's absolutely no evidence that shows that. And then the last thing is that I'll leave with it, that in my opinion, they're starting, I think, and again, this is my opinion, it's starting to look like, instead of a scientific endeavor, it's starting to look like what I would call a money grab, some kind of informal, undignified way of gaining money without much effort. And, also when Avi Loeb went to the Papua New Guinea for that expedition and he didn't fill out the paperwork and so forth, he also didn't follow the ground rules that he had set up for the Galileo Project he announced early what he thought he found, and it never went through the scientific process.
Let me ask you this, okay? What makes Avi Loeb an expert in UFOs? He's never seen one. He's only read data. There are people, hundreds of people, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people just in North America alone who've had extreme close encounters. Some have been able to even summon these in CE5.
Yes.
Yet what makes Avi Loeb the voice of truth when it comes to what is a UFO and what isn't?
You want my honest opinion is
Sure.
that's what he was hired to do. Okay, and here's what now, man, I'm gonna have to go into hiding after this show. But here's another thing that kind of, again, it just gets me thinking. Okay, I started looking where, you know, Avi received his doctorate, and he received his doctorate from Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And I went to a catalog known as the Best Global Universities catalog, and I just went to the one catalog. And that university is ranked number 241. So the only other university that I know of to compare that is Penn State, where I did my doctoral work. And I went to that same Best Global Universities catalog, and Penn State is ranked 84. Now, it doesn't make sense to me that a powerhouse university like Harvard would go to the other university that isn't highly rated to have somebody in such a position, unless he was going to be a puppet. I mean, again, I have no real proof of that. But when I start looking at these things, and I'm sure other people have looked at them, that's what it looks like to me. It looks like almost the same thing you were describing about tomorrow's meeting. Like the same thing that happened to me, I just was never heard of again. And that's how they work. These people work that way. And I'm not saying I don't have any evidence that they really did, but it's there seems to be signs pointing toward it. It doesn't seem good.
I can see that. Now, is the Galileo Project then a project that is set to actually find out answers regarding UFOs, or are they out there to manipulate or to run a government study?
Well, they're not out. They're not supposed to be out there to run a government study, and the goals, they had two goals that were established. I don't know if I wrote those down, but they're pretty. They're basically asking to look for, let's say, spaceships from other planets. That's kind of like where I would say the Galileo Project was all about. I thought I had them written down here, but maybe I don't. But they in 2021, that was basically the idea, was try to see if they could find, since Oumuamua, they weren't sure where that came from. So I think that's what triggered, and that was in 2017. So I think what they were trying to do is trying to set up a project where they could start looking at objects they weren't concerned about. And that's another thing, Avi Loeb, I think he still claims in his book, I bought his book, and it's a very good book, but he's stating that he thinks the Oumuamua was a solar panel, or not a solar panel, but a solar sail, where the sunlight propels this sail. There's absolutely no evidence of that. I mean, they're other than in his mind.
So it's such a tough project because, I believe Avi Loeb is a very brilliant man. You don't get to the position that he's in without being very brilliant. Yet, to me, it seems like also there's some selfishness in regards to this. When I started to notice it, and trust me, I noticed it way at a much simplistic type level
Oh, really?
compared to it on your end, when there were no ufologists on the original panel of the Galileo Project. And I'm not saying, you're fly by nighter on a weekend or weekend warrior who shoots a laser into the sky looking for something to respond. I'm not saying that. But I was surprised that, there's a lot of scientists and doctorates covering this subject, whether it's Bob McGuire, whether it's Richard Dolan, and many others. None of them were asked. And then I found it funny, no offense to Chris Mellon or Lou Elizondo, but what do you need government agents on a scientific board for?
Yeah. And that was my idea too. Plus, there were other people that let's just say I've crossed swords with them, especially with the this SCU organization. When I was part of that group, and I, again, I saw things that they were not doing professional things. Okay. And I was asked to publish a paper that was unpublished of mine because I was part of that organization so that they could critique it. And a lot of professional organizations do that. Like Penn State I used to go to poster sessions where I'd take my work and put it out there so everybody could critique it, so I could learn from other people's critiquing what I did. And there were things that the SCU group were doing that were Penn State would just laugh. I mean, just to give you an example, and I won't mention any names, but there was a paper that was written, and the one paper had 7 authors to it. And you just, all that's doing is they're taking one author that has a little bit of street cred, and they're letting the other 6 authors, ride along and do that. And then there was another paper that was written, the paper, and I don't have it in front of me, and it was the paper was like 20 some pages long, and the appendix was 140 some pages long. So they had all this, what we used to call it Penn State bunny stuffing in the paper. And they're trying to consider themselves in the same category as, some of these people that are, have doctorates and are academics and so forth. And that whole thing is like that. I mean, I've had books that weren't published because the person was tied to MUFON, and they said that I had exposed one of the famous UAP endeavors, and they said that too many people would lose their jobs. I have it in writing, and that's why they wouldn't publish it. So, these groups aren't necessarily out there to promote finding the truth behind the whole UAP phenomenon.
Oh, goodness. Well, on that note, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are coming back in the next half hour with the final half hour with Dr. Robert Gross, where we're going to look at the Galileo Project. We're going to look at everything to do with what is flying in the skies above. Where are they coming from? What does the data say? Are they from the future? Are they from outer space? Different timelines? We're going to find out here coming on up. Dr. Robert W. Gross is with us. We're having a great time tonight. I hope you are too. Leading up to the next round of UFO hearings. It's been a good, solid show. You're going to have to watch this one from the beginning. And yeah, Spaced Out Radio continues in the second half next. There we go. We are clear. Good times, man. Good times. Let's see what Dirty Phil made for us tonight.
Woo!
Not only they're prepared for reptiles. Can you at least validate my parking? What a rip. What a rip. That's a Canadian saying right there. The old rip job, eh there, Dirty Filth?
You know it, buddy boy.
I'm hearing you.
At least it didn't fly there.
I free your mind. You'd like to fly there. That'd be like catching a flight to Lloydminster.
Whoa.
Nobody wants to do that. Right?
Could be worse. You could go to Hardesty. Or
What if you were
Wainwright.
asked to actually catch a plane to like Stewart, British Columbia?
Yeah, I'd do it. I don't even know where it is, but I'd go for it.
Yeah, I might have to move there after tonight's show.
There's a lot of forest around, Dave. We can build you a little forest hut out there.
Yes, that's all I need.
Oh yeah. Do you want to get more into Galileo after this? Are you done? Or do you have more that
The only thing I was going to add is I have what the goals were supposed to be of the Galileo Project. I had them written down. I'd like to just announce those.
Sure.
But I could give you a little bit of what my research is showing about what UFOs really are.
Sure.
They are,
We got 30 minutes.
oh,
Well, actually,
wow.
5 minutes. And yeah, good times. Brad Ford, how you doing? Kim and Ari, good to see you. Dirty Filth catching a flight up to Inuvik near Tuktoyak.
I'm going and I'm bringing my cartoons.
Mm-hmm. You know where I want to take you, Filth? Hey, Daniel, how you doing? I
Where
want
are
to
we going,
take you to
Dave?
that old famous bar up in Dawson City where you can have a shot with the
I
dead.
know you're gonna. Oh yeah. Didn't somebody steal that like twice?
Somebody stole it twice. One guy ate it, and he felt so guilty that he cut his toe off to add it to the jar.
Oh.
It's the most Canadian thing you could possibly do.
Absolutely.
It's just
We
the
ruin
way
a
of life
farm,
around here.
Hey, Dirty, where can people get a hold of you if they want some of your art?
Go to filthy.com, FYLTHY.com.
Yeah.
Email, contact information, everything there.
Now they're $79.99 a piece, correct?
I think it's about that in Canadian funds if you buy it in American.
Mm-hmm. Daniel, how you doing? Jeremy Jones, what's happening? Yeah. Let's see here. I'm sure Kira is sending me a picture of her damn fish and spinach. Yeah, there it is. By the way, if you guys haven't seen it, I posted some nice photos on Instagram, my Instagram today.
All right, gentlemen, you have a wonderful evening. It's nice
Dirty
meeting you,
Phil.
Doctor.
Same
Dirty Phil,
here. Nice
you have-
work. Thank you.
You have yourself a good night there, Dirty. All right, don't respond then. Pony Pong, how you doing? Yeah, I would totally go to Stewart, British Columbia. Peter Thorgerson, why are you depressed now? Why are you depressed? You're not Charlie Brown. Big thank you tonight to Zaname, Debster, Thomas, for your great super chats. Thank you so much for the love and support. Really helps out what we're doing. Here we go. We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Final time tonight, Dr. Robert Gross is here breaking down everything to do with the Galileo Project and Avi Loeb. And there were some concerns about the direction of this group. Dr. Gross, welcome back.
Thank you.
You wanted to continue with your concerns.
Yes, I was saying that earlier we were talking about you were asked about the goals of the Galileo Project, and I looked through my notes and I did find that the Galileo Project, when it first started around in 2021, it had two goals. There were two specific goals for the Galileo Project from Harvard University. And those goals were, number one, to examine the possibility of extraterrestrial origins for UAP by making observations of objects in and near Earth's atmosphere, and then filtering out unidentifiable objects using AI deep learning algorithms trained on the rigorous classification of known objects, and then examining the nature of the remaining data for anomalous characteristics. You want me to read that again?
Please do.
Okay, this was originally the first goal of the Galileo Project. Number one was to examine the possibility of extraterrestrial origin for UAP by making observations of objects in the near Earth's atmosphere, filtering out identifiable objects using AI deep learning algorithms trained on the rigorous classification of known objects, and then examining the nature of the remaining data for anomalous characteristics. That was goal number one. Goal number two was to understand the origins of interstellar objects that exhibit characteristics that differ from typical asteroids and comets through discovery and characterization initiatives involving astronomical and atmospheric surveys, as well as space-based observations. And it says, those are the two goals. And then it says after that, at a minimum, the Galileo Project hoped to gather information that might nurture better scientific explorations for unique interstellar objects with rare phenomenal properties, and for potential new natural atmospheric phenomena or terrestrial explanations for some of the current inexplicable UAP.
Wow.
Now that's, and I found that in, the the materials that were written about the Galileo Project when it first started. But that's basically what it was supposed to be about. And I just kept seeing things happening that didn't indicate, to me at least, that science was their first goal.
Okay, so with that, with what should be their first goal, where did they go wrong? Where did they fall off the path?
I think when they saw how popular the UAP phenomena really was, with 65% of the United States believing in them, and they saw the potential money available in, dealing in the UAP industry. And in my own, that's basically what I see. Like when I see things like with Avi Loeb, he was the first one, I think, to mention that he had seen a UAP when he was younger, and I think he was the first one to say that he believed that that we had been visited from aliens by aliens for a long time. And then I noticed at the same time, Gary Nolan started saying about the same things. And then I started noticing that Avi Loeb started the Copernicus company up, and then he added Gary Nolan to that company. It doesn't feel right. And I feel bad, actually, working with Harvard in the past. I feel bad for Harvard because I'm almost embarrassed for them. If I can see this, other people can see it, and they can't fool all of us all of the time. And I think Avi Loeb has selected the hill that Harvard University's reputation is going to die on.
Is it about UFOs though?
They're using it as a medium because I think they've got enough people, psychiatrists and so forth, that they have, like Dr. Gardner was with Harvard, and like Carl Jung was back in the 60s, that realize that UAPs are always going to be part of humanity, because our human brains, and we're still evolving, we need to have our brains stimulated, and we will create the UAPs, and our brains can do it. They already have done experiments that say your brains can create the UAPs in your mind. And when you see all right, my research too is worked on. I've developed the procedure that your brain goes through when you experience a genuine UAP. It's a 5-step procedure. And if it's a real UAP, what happens is you have this aesthetic experience, and then your brain grows. And from that point on, depending on what kind of information you're putting into your brain, that's going to color every unidentified aerial phenomena that you see. And really, perception, a lot of currently, one way at least of thinking of perception is when you're perceiving something, that's actually a controlled hallucination, because your brain's survival mechanism is going to take information that you've put into your brain, and it's going to use it to give you an experience of what you think you're seeing, especially if that object is not identifiable to you and the amount of current science that you have going in your brain. It's natural, and I think Carl Jung was into this. He keeps asking, why do human beings keep reinventing, the flying saucer? Because we need to stimulate our brains because we need to grow. And there's nothing out there that's causing them, to grow. I mean, that's what happened when they started taking the arts, music, and the other arts out of the schools in around 1997. And you see what's happening. It's the arts that allow you to tell the nuances in one thing when you're comparing it to another thing. The only difference between good music and great music are the nuances. And if your brain can do that, your brain can recreate anything. And if your brain's not getting stimulated, you're going to create UFOs so you survive. Your brain needs to grow. And that's where I'm starting to find out. I'm not saying that there's not UAPs out there on some planet somewhere, because I think statistically that's possible. Do I think they're here yet? I don't think they're here yet.
Interesting. Okay, so if that is true, and Avi is looking for $50 million in order to grab the gear and the technology in order to study deep into space, where do you think these craft are coming from?
Which craft? The
UFOs. Are they coming from time travel? Are they coming from outer space? Are they coming from different dimensions?
Well, a lot. Okay, when I was working with the Department of Education in Ohio, Department of Education, I was in a part of a group called the Transdisciplinary Technology Team. And I had to meet once a month in Cincinnati, Ohio, at the Apple Computer headquarters. And I would get debriefed on all the new technology that was going on in the world that month. And there were people that were so far ahead of where the market was. They were like 15, 16, 20 years ahead of what was out there on the market. So I can see where a lot of the UAPs that people are seeing are experimental craft. And they could be, from an enemy of ours, but they're probably experimental craft of some sort. And there's all kinds of things they're experimenting with. Just like when they talk about off-world, I think it was Chris Mellon talked about finding off-world parts or off-world vehicles or something. They've been making off-world objects since the 1970s, up on the space station. There's companies that do that because the little bit of gravity that's up there or whatever that they need, they can make all kinds of lenses and parts that have the specifics that they need that have like hypersonic jets or whatever. But we know of companies making off-world parts and off-world, that actually can be assembled in the off-world vehicles that human hands never have to touch.
If that is possible, and I do believe we do have the technology, okay, where are the other craft coming from?
Well,
Do you not believe that we have been visited yet?
I don't think so. It's too big of a part of our history. That they've been talking about these sorts of things. Like I can remember when I was doing my undergraduate work at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh, and one of the first real books I had to read was an Edgar Allan Poe book titled The Amazing Voyage of A. Gordon Pym. And that book was written back in the 1930s, I believe. And the end of the book here's how it ends. The main character, I think it was the main character, A. Gordon Pym, he's in a boat and he's floating on this boat to an opening that's taking him down in the ocean, is going down into the middle of the earth, and that there's beings standing along the side of this river that he's being pulled into, and they're strange beings. So, I mean, this whole concept is something I think our minds create, but then some people's creative minds create them.
I would disagree with you on that. There are millions of people around the world who've claimed to see exotic craft that are not showing up on satellite imagery, not showing up on radar detectors, craft that are doing 90-degree turns at high rates of speed. I don't know about you, but I've had a UFO land in front of me.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that it was human in any sense, because there's airports nearby. Okay, no reason to land in the middle of a field at 10 o'clock at night in order to flash its lights on and off and then disappear silently.
Well, I think there's that small percentage. When I was interviewing people, for studies I was doing in Texas, for example, and I talked to maybe 350 people. And there were some stories that were believable. And I just had to put that in some other category, that it could be, that's the 1%. I mean, I've talked to people that I signed, that I have non-disclosure agreements with, who were abducted in large groups. And I believe they were abducted. And their abductors, I'm still not clear, nor are they, that they were extraterrestrial in nature. I mean, there are just things that happened, but you don't know what the source is yet. And we, in our lifetimes, we may never find them. And there's always going to be that small percentage that are those things that it actually could happen. But I don't think it is as prevalent as it might be made out to be.
Do you believe aliens have walked on this planet?
Not that I'm aware of. Not yet. I know I am. Okay, here's another possibility. There could be, for example, Mars. Technically, Mars is millions of years older than Earth. Mars could have had life on it before Earth had life on it. It's possible. And then there could have been something that hit Mars, and then that life went out to the universe for a few million years and then landed on Earth. And they have some evidence that happened. Now, it wasn't totally intelligent life, but it had that possibility. So there's always, that outside possibility that something is here from another place or another dimension. And I like I said, I've interviewed so many people, and some of the research I've done, and I know that there's something happening out there. I don't know what it is. I don't think it is as common as we might think it is. I think it's less common than we might think. But statistically, it's got to be out there. It's got to be out there statistically somewhere.
What is the hard part about believing experiencers and what they've gone through?
Do you mean like the experiencers that have been abducted, or?
Yes.
There are some that I've worked with, and again, I can't go into too much detail, but they have definitely been abducted, and in mass. Some of them, there were several abducted at one time, and also those individuals, when they were abducted, were given gifts. In other words, not presents, but they were, let's say if you were just a mediocre writer when you were abducted, after you went through the abduction process, it wasn't long after that for some reason you became a really, Pulitzer Prize level writer. Those kind of things. And I've known people that have evidence that had been abducted, and they had, let's say, a physical defect. That defect was fixed by the time they got back. And let's just say I've seen the evidence. I know the people that really happened to them. Now, there's got to be a small, there's got to be a percentage of those things that are genuine to throw into the mix. That's what makes the whole thing so difficult, because that some of these things are happening. We just haven't figured it out yet. Or, it's so far and few between that we just accept that it's out there, in that outlier area. And I mean, anything could happen, and it could be here. I mean, there are people, I know they saw what they saw, and there's no explanation yet. So that's going to be part of the mix. That's what makes it so difficult to find the truth.
All right. I want to ask you then, if in your opinion, we don't have aliens here, in your opinion, that we may have been visited by UFOs, but may not, do you think we are dealing with a technological advancement that has been hidden from humans for decades then?
We could be. Just to give you an example that's not UFO related. When I was doing like my doctoral work, and I did it on electronic music, and I was searching like the history of electronic music and electricity and batteries. And I found illegitimate research materials, people that were finding batteries that were years and years and years ahead of what they should have been. There are things out there that just can't be explained. I mean, anything could have happened. That's why I think we have to take that into the mix, that there is like a bell curve. There's still going to be some things at the end that we can't explain. That's always going to be there. But there's like a gray area that's in those fringes that we actually make up. I mean, anything could, when you think of, how large the universe is, and that they're still not sure how it started. I mean, they're still having more arguments about the Big Bang theory versus no Big Bang, and other dimensions and so forth. All of that is possible.
And on that end, we're going to wrap this up by saying thank you, Dr. Robert Gross, for coming on in tonight and hanging out with us, teaching us about your evidence with Avi Loeb, the Galileo Project, and UFOs. Coming up next, Steve Stockton from Among the Missing. Then Robin McRae joins us for the Cryptid Report. Spaced Out Radio continues with hour number 3 next. Great show, Doc.
Oh, great. Thank you. Wow.
Went fast. Went very fast.
Fast. Man, I went through all my notes. I never thought I would. Those weren't even good.
Oh, well,
But
gave you
what
time to talk. All right, we will say goodnight to you.
Thank you so much.
And
Like
we
I
will
said, I might be having to move out there now after Harvard years.
Oh, I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be okay.
That's what the
Take
people
care,
for tomorrow's meeting said. All right. Hey, thanks again.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Nice guy. Nice guy. I like him. All right. I'll be right back. Take a quick break here, guys. All right. Hi, Robin McRae. Neil Warden, good morning. Dave likes his map. Dave's got to start putting pins in it. Hey, it took me forever to finally get it hung up. Oh. Look who it is. Little Robin McRae hanging on out. Christine, yes, I did get a good sleep last night. It wasn't enough. After I logged off the show last night, because I wanted to quickly get everything edited, I actually fell asleep at my desk here and woke up at like half an hour later. Nothing was done. So then I had to wake myself up and get everything done. So I did. Got to bed about half an hour later. I slept this afternoon for about an hour and a quarter. That was nice. I can't wait for this weekend to sleep. But first, I got to get my lawnmower in. Get it fixed. Thank you tonight to... Let's see. Who are our super chatters tonight? Little Tommy Fessler from Disclosure Tonight, the Debster, and Xanamax. Thank you for the love. We're not getting Disclosure, man. Disclosure is years away yet. Years. Dave, you are very peachy tonight. I'm craving an orange Julius now. Or I'm very orange tonight. Yes. I noticed that too. Dry Toast, the best name on YouTube right there. Mm-hmm. All right. Let us rock and or roll here in 30 seconds. Remember when I told you, Runa, it's all about confirmation. Nothing to do with disclosure, people. Amazing how we start it and then everybody else finishes it, isn't it? Thank you, sweet Tony D. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? What is this? Fallibilism. There we go. Fallibilism is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we go with Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and another creepy story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. Hello, friends. Steve Stockton here with you. Welcome to a special episode called My Dog Saved Me. And a lot of these cases we cover, people that get lost hiking often have their dogs with them. Sometimes neither the person nor the dog is ever seen again. There are other times that the person is never found, but the dog returns. If only dogs could talk in these cases. However, today, that's something a little different. These are cases where people miraculously made it after being lost in the woods, but they contend that they were saved by their dog. So cuddle up with human's best friend or your fur baby, sit back, relax, and have a listen. My Dog Saved Me. First up, have the Great Bear Wilderness Rescue. Madeline Connolly. A 23-year-old Illinois woman, Madeline Connolly, went missing with her dog, Mogi, in the Great Bear Wilderness area in Montana on May 4th, 2017. Connolly was only supposed to be gone on an overnight camping trip, but didn't return. The search and rescue mission was launched on the 6th of May. Realizing she wasn't in the right place on the first night, she became lost and wandered farther into the wilderness and away from her vehicle. Thinking if she just stayed on the trail she was on, she would eventually make it back to her car, she walked for hours and ended up at a lake. Knowing that she was far from where she should be, she stopped there for a while. Even though she had no shelter and was lightly dressed, Conley had to seek shelter under the trees at night and share body heat with her dog. Not realizing the media attention the case was getting, the last day she thought she would make it back to her car, go for a Coke, and return to her uncle's house. In fact, several search and rescue teams had already begun looking for the woman. She was found safe on Mother's Day, a search and rescue team, 2-Bear Air Rescue, and was lifted to safety. Conley was visiting family in Montana, on her way to a job at a bakery in Alaska. The dog, Mogi, was also found alive, and they were reunited the next day after Conley was released from the hospital. Conley claims that without the dog to keep her warm, she probably would have perished. Next, we have Lost in Canada, the story of Annette Poitras. 56-year-old British Columbian dog walker Annette Poitras went missing after falling on a hike and knocking herself unconscious. Poitras left her house with Bubba, Roxy, and Chloe for a little walk in the woods when she slipped and fell, hitting her head. In the fall, she also lost her phone and gloves. She doesn't remember how long she was out for, but when she came back around, she had to go find one of the 3 dogs that had wandered off while she was knocked out. After finding the dog, she tried following the BC Hydro power lines, but was too weak. Her second night being lost, over 100 search and rescue personnel were raised, and people were out looking for her and the dogs. Her third day in the elements was her last. Rescuers heard one of the dogs barking and was able to find Poitras and her furry friends all alive and well. She spent a week in the hospital due to exposure from the elements, and in an interview she said she didn't think she would have survived one more night in the elements. Annette Poitras was able to turn her ordeal into a novel. Author Anne Bruin spent an entire week with her family while writing the novel based on the recollection of Poitras about the 3 days she spent missing in the BC wilderness. The name of the book is 3 Dog Nights. It covers both the missing woman's perspective as well as that of her family. I would have probably died without the dogs, Poitras said. They kept me going, and they kept me warm.
And thank you to Steve Stockton for coming on in once again, as he does each and every night to kick off hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio. Tell us some spooky stories each and every time. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. You'll love it too if you go on over to his channel, youtube.com/spaced out, not spaced out radio, among the missing, and hit that subscribe button right there, because you want more, he'll bring you more. All right. From the missing to the mountains where Bigfoot hides in the forest, here's Robin McCrae filling in for Super Duke on the Cryptid Report. Super Duke, the Cryptid Report with Super Duke. Yes, it's that time, Robin McCrae, to say hello to you once again. And it's nice to have you back.
I love those stories he tells every at 2:00 on that third hour. He does such a good job.
Oh yes, oh yeah, we love Steve Stockton around here, and I'm telling you, Robin, I spent 48 hours in the forest. And
what happened?
I'm not allowed to say what happened right now.
Okay, when you're ready, you know my number.
Yeah. Well, there's a little NDA thing that's going on.
That's all right. You got to honor that first.
Yes, but I will say this. I have never felt more watched in my life than that weekend. And
what's going on?
The area that we were in, which was a crash site of an airplane, people have heard me talk about it before. Okay. there was just a little bit of everything. And the first time ever, I can say this, the first time ever, way off in the distance, I actually heard not a roar, but you know when they go, woo.
Yeah. You had a bunch of them there. I mean, they were loaded.
Yeah. And the funny part about that woo thing, okay, was there was a bunch of cows also free ranging in the area. And that wooing set them off. And all we heard was
Oh my gosh.
background, right? It's like, come on, you know? And it's just, that was a little bit crazy.
But how wonderful.
We had everything. I will say this, if you can imagine it, we had it happen.
Oh, that's great. That's great. That's when it makes it worth it to get out there.
Yeah, it was nuts. I like that area. I've been to that area about 22, 23 times. I don't like that area at night. I really don't.
I do more day investigations than nighttime. Like, I'm outside right now. I came out here on the porch to do this because I saw a lot of movement in the trees and the eye shine and stuff. But honestly, I get my best stuff during the day. More so than at night. I mean, I do. I get a lot better stuff during the day.
I know that, but there's something about the excitement of it happening at night or dusk. To me, that's the rush of it all.
I know Igor's like that. You know, when he's, excuse me, you guys, mosquitoes are coming after me again. When he's in the States, he's forever, let's go out at night. Let's go out at night. And I'm like, they're walking around during the day, but okay. You know, it's that excitement, that adrenaline. When I shot that documentary for Jason Kenzie in Michigan, and they wanted to do it at night. I was like, okay, you know, it's their thing, it's their project, so we're going to do it their way, obviously. And it was exciting and thrilling because it's like, you know, you're out there in the dark and you don't know what's going to happen next. But I was like, so much more activity during the day, but it was fun. I'm just glad it went so well for you guys.
Yeah, it was nut bar. It was, oh God, it was completely nut bar. And let the adventures begin. That's all I will say is
that is so great.
You know,
well, nobody's more deserving than you.
We'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes. It's now, you know, just like everything else, it's in the hands of the editors to make it look pretty. And, you know, we'll see how things turn out. Thank you, Deb.
Yeah.
But the idea behind the mysteries of the Sasquatch, when they growl, what do they sound like? Do they growl like a tiger? Do they growl like a bear?
Some of them do. You have to understand everything with them is individualized because they're all different. It's just like when we make our noises, you know, there's always variations. Some, when they have that growl that's guttural, it vibrates their chest. Like, I know people that, myself included, have heard it, and they literally can feel that vibration within their own body because it's such a vibration in there. But then there's been times where I've been out in the woods or like out in the yard and they're standing in the bushes and I just hear this low little, and I'm like, oh, okay. But it's not an aggressive growl. It's not a growl like when a dog growls. Just because they make that growl doesn't mean it's an act of violence. They can do it for a lot of reasons. And then even when they say hi or hello, because it's all guttural, sometimes it's very hard and very discerning because you can't really break it apart to understand that it's not a growl. It's just a hi, you know, which is really, really deep. And they've done that out in the yard too. Like, I'll go out there with the dogs, let the dogs out at night, and they'll do that from the bushes. And the brush is like really, it butts up against the fence for the dog. So it's not like they're more than, you know, 4 or 5 feet, maybe as close as 2 feet from that fence. And they're not being aggressive. Now, when the neighbor heard it from the one that was in their yard, that time. He said he couldn't pick out any words out of it, and it sounded just like a guttural growl, but he said he didn't pick up fear at all. He said it was just kind of like a type noise.
Wow.
I mean, if they're really growling, you can feel the vibration coming out of their chest.
Do they growl over anger?
Not all the time. No. Not all the time. It's not always an angry thing. It's just a noise that they make. You know, it's not like with a dog where a dog growls and you know that it's pissed. They don't always growl just because they're mad. They just growl to make a noise, let you know they're there, to make us whatever that in their clan means for another one. It's a form of communication to each other. It can be just a noise so that you're aware that they're there. I mean, there's a lot of reasons they can do it, and it's not always that they're being aggressive.
Okay, so what would constitute growling in the forest? Because for most people out there, if they're in the forest, they don't know the difference between a cougar or a bear or a wolf or a coyote that may be making these sounds.
I mean, if I were somebody, or if I was instructing somebody that was out there and they heard it, I don't care what it is, you just back away from where you're at because you've now gotten too close. No matter what it is, you are now too close. You're not going to turn tail and run because anything would chase you, you know, if it's a cougar or whatever. Just back up calmly, you know, stay centered, stay calm. I'm leaving. I'm sorry if I got too close, and just back away. You know, 9 out of 10 times, no matter what it is, if you're backing away from whatever's making that noise, it's going to leave you alone. And so that's just what you're going to have to do. It's pretty obvious when it's done because it's so guttural. Like it comes from that bottom part of their throat down in the chest cavity, and it literally vibrates. You can feel it. You can hear that vibration.
Right. Right. Do you think then that it's done out of anger?
No, not all the time. No, absolutely not. Are there times that it's anger? Yeah, but not all the time. No.
What about defense?
Yeah, I think there are times that it would be because it would be to intimidate you so that you would back out of their space because you've gotten so close. So I think that's a very good possibility. It would be as a defense mechanism. It could be anger. It could be simply, and I've known them to do that with me. Like if I get too close and I don't realize they're there right away, and it's more or less just like, hey, I'm standing over here, and I'm like, oh, guys, sorry, you know, and I back up, and then all of a sudden everything's calm again, depending on the individual.
Right. Right. Is it
You know,
more the
they're letting
male?
you know.
Is it more the male or female species that would do that?
I've not noticed a difference. Like in my little world over here, they will both do it. I think the females, if the kids are around, are definitely more on top of the getting mad. Like when Muwaka's here and Zerky's out in the yard, you know, she'll make noises quicker than any male will because he's out there. But I'm not finding that it's more male or female. It's just the individual. I think that's where the bigger question lies: is what will that particular individual do?
What would constitute that growl? Other animals? Other beings
You mean
around?
from that? Yeah, I mean, with the
people?
Well, yeah, I mean, everything is going to be reactive to where you're at. Like if you go out in the woods and you're too close to a bear, you're going to hear a noise. If you get too close to a cougar, you're going to hear a noise. It's the same thing with the dogmen, with the cat people, with the Bigfoot, any of that stuff. If you get too close in their space and they want you to know that they're there and you're now invading their space, they're going to make a noise one way or another. You know, and if you've got somebody that's getting too close to you, they're probably not going to make the happiest of noises. They want you to know they're there so that you'll back up. And if it's going to intimidate you, then okay, they will do that. Because you're now invading their space, whether you intentionally did it or it was accidental, it doesn't matter. The results are still the same. But that doesn't mean that it's all done out of anger. at all. I mean, sometimes yes, but not all the time.
4 minutes ago, before we got to go to break, at the bottom of the hour, Cryptid report with Robin McCrae tonight. Robin, for you, how long do these growling sessions last?
Oh, I just get them real brief, like almost like, hey, I'm here. The only time I've ever heard it last for a couple minutes for me was I was out of state helping somebody, and the one there was really kind of grumpy, not happy that we were there, and he just kind of like got as close as he could and just kept up with it for a minute, and then we didn't do anything. I mean, we stood our ground and just stood there, said, we're leaving, you're going to have to just give us time, and he backed down and walked away. So I don't normally get the long growl, no, not at all. The only time I get it at all is like if I'm out and I've got the dogs and they get too close and I don't realize they're there, and they'll do this just a real quick, and then it stops. Like, I don't get the lengthy ones from my group. They seem pretty content. But when I do go out in other areas that are not my regulars, it's very short. I mean, it's just a matter of what I get are not aggression ones. I get the ones that are just kind of like letting me know that they're there. And I'm like, okay, I got it. We'll back off, and they stop. I just don't have that problem. And I've dealt with aggressive ones before, and those are the only ones that made any type of a noise, but it didn't last for long.
What does it do to you as a person?
For me, like if I'm, with my group, it doesn't really upset me, other than I'm like, I obviously, you tense up a little bit because it's unknown, and each one is an individual. You don't know what they're going to do. So I get more cautious, and I start with it's okay. I'm not here to hurt anybody. Nobody's in trouble. Nobody's busted. Just doing my own thing. Let me get out of your way. And I kind of like talk the situation down because I don't shut up anyway. And so it helps with that. When I was in Texas and I had to deal with the aggressive ones there, I was nervous. I'm not going to lie. You should have a healthy sense of being nervous when something, that can rip you to shreds is like that. But there were kids involved, and I wasn't going to back down. And so I didn't. But it can be very nerve-wracking. I mean, it can. Like, I don't panic. I'm a person that I do really good in the moment of, confusion and crisis. I don't lose it till afterwards. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I mean, you definitely have to be on your toes. But know that not every noise they make is an aggressive noise. A lot of times it's just that warning to get to move out of the space that you're in, away from them, and give them their space, and then you're fine.
It's all about that space. How much space is that?
It's every individual's different. Like, I have some that when they come up on the side yard, I can get, and I know they're in there, like I'll see body parts in the bushes, and I will literally be 4 and 5 feet away, and they're standing in there. And then I have others that, if they're across the property, that's as close as they want to be. The ones that I'm real close to, they're hanging out looking in the windows all night long, and space isn't a problem. When Shadow walked up to me in the yard, he got up it was bright in the open area of the yard, and it was during the day in, bright sunlight, and he was like 10 foot away, and he just stood there and watched me, and I watched him before he closed. And, so it depends on your individual. It really and truly does. If you have a relationship with them, obviously you're getting closer. If they've been watching you for a long time and they're comfortable with what you're doing, and they're comfortable with your intent and your energy, they're going to let you get much, much closer. I've got pictures of some dogman pictures. They were literally 20 foot off my porch.
What is their memory like?
Oh my God. They say an elephant never forgets, neither do they.
Okay. So the ones that I was interacting with in 2018, where we got chased out of the forest, would they remember us?
Absolutely. 100%. Guaranteed.
Hold that thought. Spaced Out Radio's Cryptid Report with Robin McCrae filling in for Super Duke all summer long from World Bigfoot Radio. When we return, what's Bigfoot's memory like? Does he hold grudges? Does he hold friendship? We'll find out more here on the Mighty SOR when we return. Stay tuned. All right, we are clear. Cool stuff.
Yeah. I'm so glad you had such a great experience, though. That's wonderful.
Hold on. JSCO, who are you talking about? Let me see. No, I like Mick West. I do like Mick West. He does have an attitude. But I like him. Oh, Robin McRae, I feel like I need an oatmeal raisin cookie.
Oh, God, that sounds so good.
Yep.
That sounds really, really good.
Craving an oatmeal raisin cookie. The
Oh,
question is, do I want some of that, or do I want some ice cream after the show?
Oh, I'm going for the cookie. I'll do cookies. I got this recipe for him that he sent me, and I bought a cookie cutter that's a Sasquatch. And at Christmas time, I was going to make Christmas cookies, and I have a recipe for homemade frosting, and I have my own sugar cookie recipe I invented. And I was going to make these, so I got a Sasquatch cookie cutter, and I was going to send them to him. And then I got really, really busy, and things have been just getting busier as time goes on. So now I have a recipe he sent me too. So I have all these cookies I'm supposed to make him that he's probably going to kick my ass. They're not done yet. But, you know, I'm ready tonight. I brought a whole thing of tea.
Very
so
nice.
If I start coughing again. But cookies are, there's never a time of day that cookies aren't appropriate, Dave. I'm just telling you. Cookies can be a meal. And all of a sudden, it's like my lens on this is acting like I can't see anything. It's all fuzzy. But yeah. Now I want cookies. Thank you. But this is good because I spent the last 2 months not wanting any food whatsoever. Now everything tastes fine. I feel fine. No food. I've lost almost 20 pounds in 2 months and almost ended up in the hospital because I just could not eat. And then now all of a sudden my appetite's back. So I don't know what that's about. Now I want cookies.
I could use a cookie right now.
I know. There's nothing bad that will ever come from a cookie.
Yeah, some cookies are gross.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean all cookies, but there's certain kinds, like, you know, the oatmeal raisin are really good. Chocolate chip, sugar cookies. I love sugar cookies with the homemade frosting. My mom's homemade frosting recipe. Oh, I could eat those suckers all day.
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling. And
I love to bake, so it makes it worse. I had one of my kids, when they were little, they would never eat a store-bought cookie. And so I used to bake 4 dozen cookies every single night before I went to bed. So in the morning, the kids had fresh cookies. I did that for years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they were monsters, but they loved it. They were my monsters. They were good kids.
That's awesome. We got about 2 minutes here.
So when do you go back out again?
That is up for debate. That is what happens now is are we going to post-production and we see who likes it, and then once we figure out who likes it, then we set our schedule. So we got the first little bit done.
Good.
Yeah. Which is nice. It's nice. You know what, though? I will say.
Yeah, that's great.
Most importantly, for everything that went on the last few days, the only thing I don't like is that everybody's gone home. You know?
I know. Doesn't that suck?
I like being around people who I have my keen interests in.
Yeah, and it's like you have that unity and that friendship, and it just turns into like a big old family meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the part that stinks.
I hear you.
It really does.
True. Very, very true.
Yeah, I was hoping if I came out here before the mosquitoes attacked me, I could see anything, but everybody's kind of stepped back, I think, because there was like trees shaking and you could see stuff walking around, and every now and then eye shine. So I thought, well, it's hot as Hades out here, but I'll go outside anyway, just in case. But
I didn't see
they're
a
getting
single.
quieter.
Here we go. Here we go. We got 5 seconds.
Okay.
We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the Cryptid Report tonight. Filling in for Super Duke from World Bigfoot Radio is our favorite cryptid lady out there, Robin McRae returns. Robin, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Dave. I love coming on your show. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I appreciate you having me on all the time. And everybody go over and check out World Bigfoot Radio with Duke Sullivan. He's got some great shows on there already, and he's got more coming up.
Oh, yeah. That's Super Duke for us. Super
He
Duke.
is. He's the best.
Super
He is the best. And he's doing, the series that he started in Nebraska on searching for Bigfoot. He's got Christy Sci-Fi, Blaine Tyler's on there, Rich Soul. It's good. It's good. So they started it. The first part of it with Christy was on this past Sunday, and then it'll continue.
That is fantastic. We were speaking right before the break about growling and vocals, that Sasquatch makes. What about, what other type of sounds will Sasquatch make that we are looking for in order to see whether or not he's close by?
Well, to begin with, you've got your little hoots and your owl noises, and they imitate every noise out there. If there's a noise in the woods, they can duplicate it. I don't care if it's a rock clack, they can do that with the side of their cheek by hitting it. Whistles, bird calls, anything. If it makes a noise out there, they can duplicate it. They can duplicate our voice to the point where you can't tell who it is. They used to do that all the time at my house, and the rule ended up being that if mom calls you out in the woods, unless you physically see mom, you don't go. You are not going to get grounded. You're not going to get in trouble. If you don't see me, but you hear mom calling you out in the woods, then you don't go, because they are that close. They are that accurate when they mimic things. I mean, it's uncanny. I can't even understand it. I would be in Michigan, and there would be 3-4 foot of snow on the ground, and I would hear bullfrogs. Bullfrogs that sounded like they weighed 500 and 600 pounds, but they still sounded like a bullfrog. There's that on top of it. The owl calls are tremendous. The bird calls are tremendous. They will imitate the bird noises here, and then if you listen long enough, they will have a pattern to them. And we've got one individual that comes by here all the time, and he does bird calls. And I always know it's him, because most of the bird calls that you get don't stay at 9 feet up in the air consistently. And he'll pace the tree line across from the house doing these bird calls. And I know he's doing them for me, because I'll go and I'll try to repeat the call back to him, which sounds pathetic, but I'll do it, and then he'll imitate whatever I do. And he'll pace that tree line back and forth and do this for a couple of hours, and then all of a sudden you'll hear him at the same height. The bird calls will go down the road, all the way down the road. And if you go out there the next day in the daylight, you'll find footprints. He's been doing it for the last 5 years.
Never knew that. Never knew that. I want to
They
ask
are
you
that uncanny.
one of the other things that was strange up on our excursion, and I can mention this one, is the smell of dog urine. That area is not known for Dogman, but a couple of times, 3 times for me, and once for my buddy Mike, we smelled dog urine.
Yeah, they have the ability to really project to your senses some very strong odors. We had one that would make everything smell like coffee, like a hot cup of coffee. You'd be out in the woods and all of a sudden you'd smell fresh coffee, like it had just come out of a coffee pot. You know, they have the ability of projection. And when I say projection, they can project sound, vibrations, frequencies, and smells. And, you know, you do have some that are just not very hygienic. And if they were to go somewhere where there was a dog, per se, that had urinated on the ground, it's very easily that they could have rolled in that because it would mask their smell and it would be covered up by dog urine. And if, you know, they're out in the woods, they'd rather have something smell the dog urine than they would them. We have one that frequents between here and Texas, and he's obsessed with skunk smell. And he will literally get skunks and he will rub them all over his body. And that skunk smell is so strong, it makes your eyes water. It's just awful. And then when he leaves, skunk odor's gone. Like there's no lingering residue from it. It's just gone. But that's what he likes. So, you know, to me, what you're describing, I would say probably there's some individuals out there that like the smell of that dog urine and rolled around in it. But they do that. They like to cover up their own smell, and they'll use whatever they want to. With a lot of the females will use the flowers. They'll take flowers, rub it all over their body. Certain clans, some of them will do that when they're pregnant, but I have known females that have done it while not pregnant as well.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Okay, so we put it
well,
all
we
together.
use cologne. You know, we use cologne and we use perfume.
I understand that. But when you're standing out there in the forest and you're by a bunch of people and all of a sudden from the trees you smell this whiff of urine. Dog urine, I should say. And you know there's no wolves around. You know there's no coyotes. It's just strange.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But they also can take, like I said, not only will they go and they'll roll in it and get it on them to cover their own smell, but they have an ability to do what they call projection. And they can project a smell or an odor that they want onto you. I mean, I was out there one time with a female and I'm smelling birthday cake or a cake of some kind with a lot of frosting. And I'm like, out in the middle of the woods? Are you kidding me? Where's cake? You know, there's no bakery out here. And it was just a strong, strong smell of cake and frosting. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, again, the coffee smell, we would get that a lot. And there would have been no reason to, because we were getting it at, there was nothing around to make coffee. You know, nobody was around that had coffee, but it smelled like fresh coffee in a coffee pot right next to us. And it's projection.
I want to ask you about the infrasound, because there was times when a few of us were out there, not doing the filming, but just kind of putting our stuff around. And we were getting just not headaches, but pulsating in our heads. Okay,
yeah, it's from the infrasound. You get a couple of things. Okay, the infrasound, what we consider infrasound, okay, which is what radiates off of them, it's because of a higher energy and a higher frequency. And that, for them, it turns into this what we would consider to be infrasound. It's really not, but that's the closest thing we can compare it to, so that's what we call it. Now, it can be damaging. It really and truly can. If you get a lot of it, you get people that, you know, can get brain tumors, can get sick, whatever. And it's not that it's being done on purpose. They can't not have it on them any more than we can change what our energy is. Now, when you're working with a clan, and I do this with mine all the time, I will tell them, you guys, you got to pull back the energy if you want me out here with you. And 9 out of 10 times they will. I can feel it let up. But now, if they're concerned, they don't know what you're doing, maybe we're filming or whatever, or a new group of people out there, they can very lightly push that on you to make you a little bit disoriented, maybe not as quite on your game, but then they're not trying to hurt you. They just don't want you as sharp as attack like you normally would be. And that's for their own protection. It also can happen if you get too close to one and they haven't pulled it back. And that's just it radiating from them. If you get close to that, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that sense of maybe your equilibrium's off, maybe a little queasy. That doesn't mean you've been zapped. I mean, they can definitely zap. They can pick who they want to zap in a lineup. Like you may get it and then the person that next to you won't, or that person might, but you won't. And they can also decide what degree they're going to give it. I've watched them zap people that put them on the ground, literally on the ground, and they wet themselves. And I've had other people say they're getting zapped and it was just like a vibrational hum and a frequency, and they got a headache and slightly nauseated. But the reality is, if you get too close to them, even without them trying to do anything to you, your body will pick that up because we are at a much lower frequency and energy level than they are. And it's overpowering to our 3D bodies, even though everybody says, oh no, I'm 5D now. Well, you might be 5D, but your body still, is working in the 3D world. And so your body's going to be more sensitive to that. Your body's always going to pick up energy and frequency before your brain will. And so that can set you off. And then if you have a lot of them around you, it's just like this over influx of it. And that can do it as well, where one around you might not, 4 and 5 around you might set it off.
How many would you think were around us then?
At night, I'm getting 7. At one point, they said the maximum that you had there were 23 were coming in. They said 23 were coming in to observe, but there were 7 that was very close around you.
Oh, man. I want to believe that so bad. I do. It just sounds, no offense, sounds ridiculous. I know you know that.
But yeah, but you got shadowed by 7. You had 23 watchers, and they weren't right on top of you. They were just coming in to watch the event, but you had 7 that shadowed you.
Trying to think where they were. That area is so tight, but it's got a lot of hidden trails.
Yeah, they're talking about some kind of, it looks really old. I don't even know if you guys saw it when you were there. It would remind me of like a deer blind, only it was made out of wood. And they're showing me pictures of it. I don't know where it was out there, if you guys ever saw it or not, but it was there. And they said there was one that was right up close on top of that.
We didn't have a deer blind. We had a.
It's not a deer blind. It's made out of wood, but it's that type of a setup. I mean, it was framed. What they're showing me is framed. I don't know if you guys ever saw it or not. They're saying that they had one that was up there because it was at a higher level, so it could see.
Well, we didn't have a deer blind, but we did have a deer hanger, if that makes sense. So a deer hanger is if you're hunting, after you harvest the deer, you hang it from a pole. That way you can do what you need to do, clean it up in order to haul it out. So that's kind of what gets done. Let's get Robin back here. So there wasn't a deer hideout that we saw, but at our base camp, there was a deer hanger for those deer.
Maybe is it made out of wood?
Yes.
Like, and it's framed out?
Yes.
Okay, that's what they're talking about then.
It almost looks like a football goal, field goal.
Yeah.
Poles.
Yeah, that's what they're showing me. And they said there was one there that watched you the whole time. Sorry, they're just telling me this. Not trying to creep you out. Just wanted to let you know.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be like, you're not coming back anymore. Go away.
The worst part about it is we knew he was there. We knew he was there.
Yeah, it was not an adolescent. I would say he was 21, 22 years old, black, real tall, muscular on the top, not overly stocky, and short black hair.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we never
He was
saw.
really fast. They said that's.
Never saw. I never saw any. Never saw any eye shine at all, which was really surprising.
Yeah.
To me. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I was hoping for eye. I was really hoping for eye shine.
I know. But you were getting followed, so they didn't want you to see the eye shine. They literally watched every move you guys made.
Tell me about the toy truck.
Why am I not? Yeah, I don't know why I keep trying to. Yeah, I don't know why all of a sudden I'm having problems with the internet. In fact, I went out and bought a separate internet just for streaming. And it's portable. It's sitting right next to my phone. And it says I have all full bars on it. So I don't know why we're having connection issues.
That's okay. Tell me about the toy truck.
Oh, the blue one? The little blue one that you had put out for them?
No, this is in a completely different area. The blue one, by the way, was there. We never found it.
Yeah. Yeah, she liked it. She thought it was really cute.
The little green truck.
Little green truck? They keep showing me them poking it with a stick. I don't know why they're poking it with a stick, like they couldn't figure out what to do about it. Somebody said, well, what does he want us to do? And I said, well, it's a gift. And they're showing me there's three of them standing there poking it with a stick. Okay.
So weird.
Did you leave a lot of stuff out? Because if you leave too much, it overstimulates them and it makes it harder for them to mess with it.
No, this was last year where the former gifting site that we've shut down.
Okay.
That one only had.
I'm just glad you're getting such good interaction.
That one only had a nickel. It had 2 trucks, a rubber ball, 3 glass rocks that are gone. So lots of strange stuff.
Yeah. But the thing is that you're getting things the right way. Okay. You're getting positive interaction. And because it's positive and not negative, it is expanding. This is all good. It's all part of the progression. But you want it to progress in a positive manner, and that's what it's doing. If you would have started out with negative, see, a lot of people go in the woods and they're like, I don't care if it's negative or positive. I just want interaction. You actually really need the positive, because the negative will shut you off quicker than anything, or you're going to have an experience that's going to haunt you for the rest of your life. You're doing it with a positive spin, and look what's happening. It's continuing. Things are going well. You're getting more and more contact because you did it the right way. You took the time, you put in the work, and you're doing it the right way. You're doing it with respect, with the positive intent, and you're being rewarded for it. I think it's fantastic.
I hope it continues. I don't know when I'll go out there again. I definitely will not be going out there at night. I can tell you that.
Yeah. I think it's great. And you deserve it.
Oh, it's picking up. It's picking up. We got 2.5 minutes. Tell us a quick story about how your week is going.
Oh, Well, the week has been really good. We've got a lot of happy Bigfoots right now. I don't know what's going on. I know that there's been a change in the energy shift, and they are just partying up a storm and hooting and hollering. So they are very, very happy. We've been getting calls all day from people going, "What happened? What happened?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And they're all excited and happy. So what's going on? And I'm like, just be grateful. You don't even want to know what's been going on. It's been a long week. Yeah. So it's going good. It's going really good. People are happy. They're getting, we had an issue for about a week where people were getting attacked by some of the negative entities, not the Bigfoot. And that's been corrected and things are on the upswing. So on to bigger and better.
Mm-hmm. And how's, what type of year, the type of year we're in right now, we're in the midst of summer where there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of animals moving.
Yeah.
Are the Bigfoot moving as well?
They are. Obviously, the heat has been a problem for them and they go underground or they get in the water or whatever so they can kind of keep cool. But yeah, they're moving around as well. And we're already halfway through summer here in South Carolina, getting ready to move towards fall. Thanks the good Lord. They're now starting to start stocking up for winter. I mean, they get started now. You're talking fish that they catch, they're going to bury them in the sand. They're going to start getting these deer and you'll find them hidden up in caves where they're stacking them. They'll gut them. They're getting ready. They plant. They have their own, plants that they'll eat that they will plant in certain areas. They're going to start, as those come up, they start stocking those up. They really are in every way a people. They prepare. It's not like they just wait and it's like, oh, it's winter. Now what do I do? No, that preparation starts now. So they have busy things to do. They have work that they have to do. Just like, when you live off grid, you start preparing for winter in the summer. You start preparing for summer in the winter. And that's the same thing they're doing. Robin
McCrae, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me at RLYNNE and a period FORESTPEOPLE, which is arlyn.forestpeople@gmail.com, or on Facebook under Robin Haynes McCrae. Not Robin McCrae, but Robin Haynes McCrae.
We love you, Robin. We'll talk to you next week.
Love you too.
We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your car, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night, Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night. That was fun, Robin.
Yeah, always. Oh, but you keep getting all the great experiences, sweetheart. I'm here if you need me.
Well, we'll probably be going back to the our gifting site on Saturday.
Okay, I will be around. All you gotta do is call me if you need me.
Yeah, I think we're gonna start getting some action there now.
Oh yeah, it's about that time. You're coming into the this time of year. I think you're gonna be good. And like I said, you're doing it all the right way, Dave. So that's a good thing.
Well, I appreciate that. All right, Robin, we'll say goodnight to you and let you get some sleep.
No, I have one more person to work with that's in another country, so I still have one more call I have to make before I go to bed.
Oh
So
my.
I've been working since 8 o'clock this morning, so I'm getting there. So,
All right.
all right, guys. Love you guys. Bye.
Take care. Robin McCrae, everybody. How awesome is she?
Bye-bye.
Love her. Bye-bye, dear. All right. Let me download this. While that's happening, give me 2 seconds, guys. I'm craving them oatmeal cookies. So. All right. Move that over there. Oh, yeah. Who's up tomorrow night? UFO panel tomorrow night. Waiting to see what we get out of the lovely, lovely hearings tomorrow morning. I'm sure they'll be wonderful. I really do believe they will be wonderful. Please note the sarcasm. I love oatmeal raisin. I don't even care if I'm talking with my mouth full right now. They're so good. Dave never commented on it, paraphrase. What did I never comment on? What did I not comment? So lost. Why do you guys do that to me? If it's Dr. Kirkpatrick again tomorrow, I'm going to give them a shaking. Dr. Boring there. Thanks, Paramarv. Oh, yeah. That is funny. That is funny. I'm not going there. Not my type. Way too hairy.
Hold on.
And more. Stay tuned. Jeez. What's wrong with my shirt, Vanessa? You weirdo. Maybe your Bigfoot's type, Deb. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, old Debster. She's type B for Bigfoot. Mad Kiwi, what's going on? Mystics Walk, good to see you. Oh my, Deb. Size matters. Oh, you're a fucking beauty. I love you. Mm-hmm. That looks good. I thought it was Love Is on Its Way. Or is that somebody else? I gotta find it. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I can hear the damn song in my head. It's an 80s ballad classic. Firehouse. That's it, Tim. I knew you'd come through, buddy. Thank you. Best rock ballad of the 80s. Hold on. My brain's not working properly. Never Let You Go by Steelheart. Number 1. Love Is on the Way. Very close. Number 2. All right, everyone. I am going to say goodnight to all of you. Thank you tonight to Thomas, Deb, times 2, Zarme, Tony, Simon. I'm tired. Look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. Don't even get that white dot out of there. I'm tired. I'm going to go to bed. And see you all tomorrow. Round table this weekend. Varla is coming in. Tomorrow night, though, we got a special panel talking all about the UFO stuff. That will happen tomorrow. Get ready for the BS. See y'all tomorrow, everybody.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.